There was a programme on last night to do with Gerry Adams, and I don't know, I thought they were talking about St. Patrick. They portrayed him in an image which I found utterly and totally disgusting. That the like of that would even be allowed to be aired is beyond belief. Like, Gerry Adams was portrayed last night as some type of peacemaker. There's people that understand that it was Gerry Adams and Martin McGuinness were the main instigators of the murderous campaign that went on in this country for 30 odd years. These were the leaders of this organisation. But our church leaders, some of them, well, I wouldn't call them leaders, excuses for church representatives, the Reverend Ken Newell and the Reverend Good, how they explained Gerry Adams and how they seen Gerry Adams. Is it any wonder they never had a church full of people except at a funeral? Because they certainly don't know much about the gospel and his teaching. Going by the way they described Mr. Adams last night. Okay, we have to all move on. But we don't have to move on in the circumstances where we're trying to betray the butchers, and I'll say that again, the butchers of not only the unionist community but also the nationalist community. People seem to forget that the IRA killed 446 or 450, somewhere in around that, Roman Catholics. So it just wasn't a case of it was only members of the security forces and innocent Protestants. They killed the people from their own community. They butchered the people from their own community. They hid their bodies. They wouldn't even allow their bodies to be returned to them. This is Martin McGuinness and this is Gerry Adams. And to thank people for stopping doing something that was completely illegal and morally corrupt is an utter and total disgrace. We don't need to thank them people for that. Them people should be down on their knees asking for forgiveness. And if them church leaders knew anything about the gospel, they would know that's the case. The one thing they never asked or never mentioned was, has Gerry Adams and Martin McGuinness and them given up the right to use violence? Because they haven't. They will tell you they're on a peaceful path, on a political path at this time in the struggle, but they will never ever tell you that they have given up the right to hold arms in the name of United Ireland. But the thing where Tony Blair turned around and said Martin McGuinness and Gerry Adams were now personal friends of his. This is the man whose young British soldiers, people from England and other parts of the United Kingdom, were being slaughtered by Tony Blair's personal friends. Is it any wonder the IRA could never be held to account whenever we had the Prime Minister talking about the butcher of the Bogside and Gerry Adams, who it is well known was involved in the Bloody Friday and also the Le Mans atrocities, as personal friends? But at the same time he couldn't write a letter on behalf of the victims to help them with their case against Libya. I thank God that Tony Blair is not a personal friend of mine, because if that's what he is, and that's what his credentials are, and that's what his friends are, I certainly would want no part of him. Gerry Adams hugs trees and he talks to trees. Martin McGuinness, well, he's not so much into the tree hugging. We had Father Reid on last night as well. This is the man that called us Nazis. This is the man that said he was Gerry Adams's private spiritual advisor for 25 years. And whenever I told him he hadn't done much of a job, given the fact that he had murdered and maimed down through them 25 years, he took offence to that. Well, I hope he was well offended, because Father Reid, you showed your true colours that night in the hall when you started to call the Protestants Nazis. But everybody seems to want to bypass this. And the other thing I want to raise as well, people have said it's now time to move on. It's funny how it's time to move on when it comes to the unionist Protestant or the innocent Catholics looking to get justice. But when it comes to the Savile inquiry, There's no moving on to spend 300 million. That's what the Savile inquiry cost the British taxpayer. But all of a sudden, we have people, and just yesterday in the paper, there was one saying, "Oh, we must draw a line in the past. We have to move on and forget." Well, everybody has to forget except the Republicans, who are already calling for inquiries into other incidents. But when it comes to the unionist community actually taking a stand, and especially the innocent victims, where we have started a civil action on Martin McGuinness, and we've also won out on Slab Murphy, which when we get round to it, we will continue it as well. But what does our people do? What does our politicians and our church leaders do? Oh, we need to forget this. We need to put this all behind us. And there's no call for these private civil actions. Now, who's the only ones that's taking civil actions? Is the innocent victims in South Armagh and the Umma people. So that's who they're talking about. We should shut up and go away. Well, I have news for them. We ain't going anywhere. For to sit and praise a man for coming along a road and bringing his people to where they are. His people were the ones who were doing the actions. His people were the ones that was doing the mothering. You don't reward wrongdoing. And I think it teaches that in the Bible. And for Tony Blair, that man is just a complete and utter, Gerry Adams and Martin McGuinness as personal friends. I would ask the soldiers and the police and anybody with any sense in the United Kingdom to consider what he has said. I know what Lord Talbot would say, and I know what a lot of other men would say over there, and hopefully the whole story will be exposed to what's going on. Martin McGuinness and Gerry Adams have not just suddenly got a new lease of life. They were brought through a system by the British Intelligence Service, and not all of the British Intelligence Service, especially the Whitehall end of it, where basically they created a situation to bring Sinn Féin and their colleagues with their blood on their hands into power.